You remember.
Roll your stealth roll.
Game books, pencils, pizza, cheese puffs, and a hell of a lot of dice.
And the dragon woke up.
Roll for initiative. This is the Roll for Initiative podcast, where 1E is the place to be.
This is the Roll for Initiative podcast. We're at episode 184. I'm Vince, sitting alongside of Nick.
Hi, everybody.
And Matt.
Hello, everyone.
We are back. Yes, I know it's been a little while, but, you know, life gets in the way, and when life gets in the way, you just have to kind of sit back and let it go, and then join back in on the fun when you can.
Things happen.
Things happen, such as Matt has become a real man and got married.
Yes, back on October 1st, I got married. So when you been going through your RFI withdrawals, it's all my fault.
I thought you were going to say when you get lemons, you make lemonade. But I was like, wow.
Yeah.
Welcome, Matt. Welcome to the pain.
Yes.
Fortunately, my wife is a geek gamer girl, so all is well.
Mm-hmm.
That makes things a little bit easier.
Yes, it does. And as opposed to having to purge the collection, I can get away. I'm buying this game for you, honey.
Oh,
the Purge.
Uh-oh. Did you say the Purge?
Yes.
Hopefully they make no more of those.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Anyway, so
yes.
Nick, what have you been doing gaming? I know you've been doing something.
As far as gaming wise, it's been pretty varied. During the summer months, we were playing Aces and Eights. We did just like a mini campaign with that. That was really fun. That was a nice change of pace. If anybody is not familiar with Aces and Eights, it's a Western role-playing game.
It's fun.
Yeah, it is really fun. We were really an unusual bunch. I think I talked about it a little bit before when we kicked it off for the summer, and we played like 3 sessions. That was kind of cool. So we kind of sort of got to our objective. We at least got to the town we were supposed to help. But other than that, it's let's see what else we've been doing. I did for our Halloween game. Mm-hmm. I did something kind of from the seat of my pants in a way. I did something I've been wanting to do for a while, is like a zombie apocalypse sort of thing.
Oh.
Yeah, but they're going to play themselves as the characters in it.
Yeah.
I went that route.
So modern day zombies attacking, kind of like a Walking Dead type thing, or Z Nation?
Yeah, basically I took the premise from World War Z.
Oh,
I read the book, not the crappy movie.
Nick has been down on that movie since it came out.
Yeah, I hated that movie. Just a vehicle for Brad Pitt. Anywho, I read the book, and I have the zombie survival guide, and I do have the rules for all flesh must be eaten, which was a nice inspiration. But I went with another rule set that everybody else was familiar with. I thought would fit in a little bit better. I went with the BRP rules, basically, the Call of Cthulhu rules, and came up with my zombies that way, with some of the ideas of how they would work. And it was very, very interesting, to say the least. Because, at least 2 of us have like arsenals. Another 2 other people are RNs, and the other person is and Jeff, he's got a lot of like real melee weapons at home. So everybody did kind of okay.
So how did you explain the outbreak, and how did that?
Well, what I did was I read through some of the snippets on World War Z,
right, on
how it spread in the book, and I tried to put a relatively decent timeline to it. It took basically a 4-year span from where it started in China up until where it became, quote unquote, the panic. So that's where I went with it. And throughout the couple of weeks leading up to it, I emailed everybody a little snippet of the timeline leading up to the panic. So everybody's like, and nobody had no idea what was going on at first. They're like, what is this about? And everybody, after a while, they're like, oh. So that's how I kind of led up to the game. And basically a few days before, I emailed, okay, you're going to be playing yourselves. Come up with some good, come up with your skills and abilities, and we'll just kind of take it from here. Whatever stuff that you have in your house or whatever, that's what you have. I mean, including weapons. So, yeah.
So if you owned a gun or two, you'd actually have a gun or two in your game.
Exactly. I have like 11.
Well, yeah, we know you do, but
yeah, and so does Gary, who's also an RN, but his wife's an RN, and then Jeff, who's got like the house that it was our first rendezvous point. So I kind of played myself as an NPC in a way. And then we went out to Gary's house, which is like in the middle of nowhere, basically out near Richfield, Ohio.
Right.
So, and that was the perfect place to be. So it got to the point, we ended it where they had a pretty good base camp set up there. I made it end with like an onslaught of zombies heading to their base camp at Gary's house. And I kind of made it where they had picked up like a group of 5 people along with them, and they were all gamers. They're all young gamer kids. And they kind of took them under their wing. And one of the kids like goes, so, and after the onslaught, and after everything that happened, then they fought off this big massive attack of 100 zombies. So one of the kids goes, so what do we do now? And I think it was either Gary or Jeff said, we roll for initiative.
Oh.
So that's how kind of
pretty slick.
It was pretty cool. I think we're going to be starting the Star Wars campaign or my Castle in the next couple weeks. So that's what's been going on.
Cool.
How about you, Vince? What have you been doing gaming-wise?
I have been actually doing some writing and stuff for Mazes and Perils. We released a bunch of supplements, some monsters, some classes, things like that. Releasing another class coming up the end of this month. The I forget which one, because there's 2 of them. We had a Holy Avenger type class, and actually I think it was a Holy Knight. Yeah. And another a con man type class. I forget the name of we had going back and forth on 2 different names, so I'm not sure which one we decided on doing. It's slipping me at the moment because I have my mind everywhere right now, because I'm also writing an adventure for a sci-fi game that I can't talk about right now. So.
Oh wow! So it sounds like you've been doing a lot of creative stuff lately.
Yeah, a lot of creative stuff. I haven't really had a chance to play much, but I did sit in one Star Trek game that a buddy of mine ran, which is kind of fun. It was Kirk era, and we had to discover why these people were turning green every time they went down to the planet. So,
okay,
yeah. So it was fun. It was fun,
because it's not easy being green.
Isn't that cheesy?
I know it is, isn't it?
Yeah.
Maybe they're turning Orions. They're turned into Orions.
I don't know. Maybe.
Anyway.
So, Matt, what about you besides getting a shackle and ball and chain on your ankle?
Well,
and a boring wrestling event that you went to?
Yes. Oh, God, that Raw in Cincinnati was terrible. It was so bad. But we actually came to the climax of our Ravenloft campaign that we've been running off and on for about 2 years.
Right.
The party found themselves in Castle Ravenloft and going around exploring it, which exploring it when you have a portable hole is a lot easier from a player perspective, because he'd stopped opening doors and just started throwing the hole up over the door to make a quick window to see what was in it, then pulling it away. They also... yes.
Sounds like hell for the DM.
Yes. No, it gets worse, because they started to to quickly get between floors, we'll just throw the hole in the floor and drop down. So I had to start figuring out where everything was on top of each other. Or how they have the spiral staircase to go up and down. They would pick a point in the wall of the spiral staircase and try to cut across that. So they were going all sorts of crazy places. Somehow, instead of working their way down into the basement, where the crypts are. They worked their way all the way up to the top spire, and then had to work back down. This is the same group that had the 2 NPC children with them, and the children also found their way into Castle Ravenloft. So the party had a 10-year-old first level thief with them, and a 4-year-old NPC while going through Ravenloft.
I remember these guys.
Yeah. And then also through the course of the adventure, they found the deck of many things. And that plays into the climactic battle with Strahd. Because one of the half-orc of the group decided he was just going to be a little violent and evil, and took some joy in maliciously killing a few of these servants or whatever in Ravenloft. So what I did is if you do these great acts of maliciousness in Ravenloft, Strahd will know. He'll feel it. And this character also developed natural ESP as a trait due to power check. So I just said, okay, Strahd knows everything that he thinks and hears.
Oh, jeez.
So Strahd was spying on him, but I gave him little clues of it, because when he would do something evil, he would hear like a "thank you" or just things like that in his head to let someone know that someone's there.
No big deal.
No big deal. But anyway, so they're outside the crypt. They get past the little teleporting traps that were set up, and then they walk in. They go up to the crypt, and then all of a sudden, big giant fireball comes from the ceiling because Strahd knew they were coming. Then we engage in combat. First round of combat, the dwarven thief who has the deck of many thing pulls out a card. Know what card he pulls out? The one that gives you wishes.
Of course.
Oh, geez.
He top decked that. So he gets 2 wishes. First wish involved paralyzing Strahd and making him killable and rekillable. Which I'm like, okay, rekillable. So basically they wish Strahd to the point where you could never kill him, because if you kill him, he would just come back. And he's paralyzed. But he is a vampire, and he can still make eye contact when paralyzed, so he kept trying to dominate people as they were killing him while he's paralyzed.
Oh, nice.
Then eventually they figured out, oh, wait, if we kill him, he's just going to keep coming back. So they used the second and last remaining wish to sew his eyes shut and make him killable, and they got it worded in such a way that once they kill him, he's not coming back.
Wow.
So the battle with Strahd was actually rather anticlimactic.
Oh.
Because
sounds like a lot of my campaigns.
Yeah, it was like you top decked the wish card out of the deck of many things.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, what were the chances of that? And then if they would, and they got
well,
2
apparently
wishes.
they were pretty good.
Yeah, and they got 2 wishes, not 1, because if they only had one wish, how do you kill something that's rekillable and keep them dead?
Yeah, you
That's
use
the
a wish.
Right, but you don't have any more wishes, and you're stuck in Ravenloft.
You better make that one wish work really good then.
Yep. So, but yeah, they all had fun, and they managed to basically destroy Ravenloft in the process and get back home. So now
wait a minute, what? Whoa, wait, back up. They destroyed Ravenloft?
Yes, they managed to destroy Ravenloft, because that was the whole thing that got them there was this.
Okay, not the demi-plane of shadow, just the castle.
Well, no, actually, they were going around destroying demi-plane, all the different planes of Ravenloft. Basically, they pulled a magical artifact from their homeworld that of great power and blah blah blah. Artifact MacGuffin, and it basically has the power. It was like ultimate power type thing, but you can't really use it. It kind of uses itself, but they gave them the ability to go around and vanquish the planes. Mm-hmm. So they went around and basically were destroying domain after domain after domain until they got to the first Ravenloft. So yeah, no, I actually had them destroy Ravenloft, as in the castle's collapsing, the world around them's warping back, Barvoria is going back to where it was before it got cast aside in the demi-plane, and so basically it just removed the entire demi-plane.
Wow.
and put
Damn.
everything back how it was.
I got nothing, man. That's
Yeah.
when you eliminate a whole demiplane, that's pretty damn good.
Yeah. So that's how the Ravenloft campaign ended. Ravenloft is no more, and all the curses are broken.
Aw.
Okay. Hooray.
And there was much rejoice.
Yay!
And now they're back on their home world, and the Dwarven Thief is starting his Thieves Guild. They're building strongholds and all that kind of happily ever after stuff. And then they still have 2 children with them.
Oh, dear.
Yes. So, but yeah, that's pretty much been my gaming.
Where are
That's
you gonna
pretty cool.
Where are you gonna take your game from there?
Well, I think if we were those characters, they're done. They're in their NPC writing doing thing. We're not going back to them.
Things.
Oh, okay. Hall of
Writing.
Fame.
Yeah, that it's kind of at this point. We might go back to that world where their characters are the NPCs. Maybe one of them is in the Thieves Guild and starting by the Dwarven Thief. We got and then the cleric is going to start his Church of the Flying Spaghetti Monster. So we could go back to it and have them be like the big hero NPCs.
Is the player for that cleric I'm just saying, the player probably is an atheist, isn't he?
Yes, he is.
Okay, that's what I thought.
Which actually made for some interesting role playing at the very beginning of the venture, because they had to do battle with some pirates.
Mm-hmm.
And the Church of the Flying Spaghetti Monster sees pirates as being holy because of the inverse relationship to the number of pirates to global warming. Less pirates, more global warming. More global warming, less pirates.
Oh,
So-
well, I can see the logic.
Right. So they had to do battle with these pirates, and he couldn't bring himself to fight them because they're stopping global warming by existing.
Nice.
And his holy symbol's a colander.
Of course, it's probably wears it on his head.
Exactly. It's a nice helmet.
Yes. That's great.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. Well, okay. Before we move on, Nick, do we have any reviews we can speak of?
I don't believe we have any reviews right now on iTunes, but just to remind everybody, if you want to give us a review, we just head on over to iTunes and type in Roll for Initiative on the search there, and then you can type in your review, whatever you'd like, and give us whatever stars you like, and then maybe we'll read it.
Actually, there is one review we have.
What? I missed it. Damn.
On September. Well, since we haven't done a show since August. September 6, 2016. Just found the podcast and love it by Rurik Leviv. I don't know how to pronounce the last name, but keep up the awesome cast from another Grognard.
Oh,
Well, thank you.
Well, thank you so much.
Short
you,
and
thank
sweet
you.
and 5 stars. He loves us.
Oh, wow. I think we're getting close to 200, aren't we?
211 we have.
Sweet.
We did actually have an email I wanted to pull out before we go into things that we can talk about real quick, and it'll be right up your alley, Nick. This comes from DM Steve, and he's talking about D&D Cthulhu. And he says,
Neat.
how about a show dedicated to the Cthulhu mythos that appeared in Deities and Demigods? That'd be an amazing show. Thanks for keeping AD&D alive and well. I know that's kind of your specialty, Nick. So,
I mean, like just talk about that book with the mythos in it.
I think just basically the mythos of Cthulhu.
Yeah, the mythos of Cthulhu according to demigods and deities.
Oh, sure. Yeah, I mean, if you guys want to do that sometime, absolutely. I got the book, but I finally found a copy a few years back. I think it was at Origins or Gen Con. So yeah, that would be great. Yeah, it's an interesting breakdown how they have it in deities and demigods, but I think, yeah, I think we could do that. We can. I don't know if we could do a whole show devoted to it, but I could definitely take a read and let you know what I think we could do with it.
Yeah, sounds good. Yeah, because I'd be interested in just seeing what if any differences there were between the actual written H.P. Lovecraft and what creative license TSR took.
Well, the funny thing is that, I could at least say on this, when they wrote that, they, I believe, initially had permission from Chaosium.
They did, yeah.
And then after a very brief period, maybe 6 months to a year, they revoked their privilege to publish it. And there's a very strange and interesting publishing history to that book. So
cool. All right.
Where it says thanks to Chaos, and there's no Cthulhu Mythos or Melnibonian ones in there. And you're like, well, thanks to Chaosium for what? It's not in there. So yeah, there's an interesting publishing history to that. Yeah, we could get into that. No problem.
Cool. Thanks, DM Steve. RFIstaff at gmail.com, 570-865-4210 is the hotline. Before we head into our next segment, just want to say don't forget to go to opengamingstore.com, punch in the code RFI 2016 and get a 5% discount for any PDF order you place. And if you get up to about $20 in the cart, you can get a free PDF from their all sister site, d20pfsrd.com. That's hosted by John Reist. So go over there, take a look at it, and support his website. It's a lot like Drive-Thru RPG Now. It's up and coming, and a lot of people have been talking about it on Facebook, so give it a shout, opengamingstore.com. So before we get into the meat of the show, we're actually going to jump into an interview we pulled out of Blackstone's vault. I don't know much about the Blackstone Vault interview, but I think it comes from Origins. Is that right? Is that what Blackstone told you, Nick?
That is correct. That is correct. It was at Origins. He made an appearance. He said he was me.
Yeah, did he? Okay. It's an interview.
Yeah, he stole my badge.
So he's a cheap guy. He didn't want to spring for his own badge.
I would say he not necessarily cheap, but just being a villain.
Oh, okay.
Just being an all-around bad guy.
He had an interview with Goodman Games. Yeah, he's been collecting a paycheck all these years and not doing anything, but yet he can't afford his own badge. Okay.
Well, like I said, he's a villain. He's a bad guy.
Well, let's head into the vaults real quick for that interview with Goodman Games from Origins from Blackstone pretending to be Nick.
Blackstone's vault.
Hello, everybody. This is Nick here, DM Nick, over here at Origins Game Fair 2016, and I am sitting here with Brendan LaSalle of Goodman Games, and we're going to talk about another cool game very dear to my heart is Dungeon Crawl Classics. So, Brendan, tell me and our listeners about Dungeon Crawl Classics, how it got all started.
Absolutely. Well, Dungeon Crawl Classics sort of came at the crest of the old school revolution, where you had a lot of players who were looking to break away from the direction that Dungeons and Dragons and some of the other games were going in.
Right.
So Joseph Goodman went back to the Appendix N from the original Dungeon Master's Guide, and he read each and every one of those appendix and authors, all of the works referenced, and he decided to go back and create a role-playing game that actually was more based in that than Dungeons and Dragons ever really was. So that was that's the origins of Dungeon Crawl Classics. He made an amazing game that is a lot of fun to play. It's it's easy to learn. It's always surprising. A lot of game balance brought about by randomness, which leads to a lot of great stories.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I got to finally play yesterday with several of my friends, and I think I got my friend Jeff almost sold to buy the rule book. So
outstanding.
And one of the great things I like about the game is, like you said, the randomness, particularly when it talks about spells. Maybe you could explain that to our listeners, how like the spell system kind of works.
Certainly. So if you're an arcane spellcaster or you're a divine spellcaster, you're a cleric or a wizard, you have a spell bonus equal to like your level and some stats. You add that to you roll a d20 and you add that to your check, and that gives you your spell result. So if you roll well, you can have amazing results. But if you roll poorly, you can lose the spell, and you can even have things like you can develop some bizarre mutations as the universe snaps cosmic backlash at you and snaps you out of it. But you can also you can actually do what's called spellburn. You can physically hurt yourself. You can bleed and burn yourself down in order to add power to your spells. Yeah. And so it really gives you a lot of variation as a spellcaster. And there's a lovely randomness to it. Every spellcaster has a unique effect that happens only when they cast that spell. That's determined randomly as well. And that leads to a lot of really interesting role-playing situations. Where you have characters who, every time they cast a certain spell, lizards rain from the sky, or they lose a different spell for a day, or they contact another world. Yesterday, we had someone who, every time they cast a certain spell, they would create a rift. There's a possibility of a rift in the universe and a cosmic being come out. 2% chance, and sure enough, guess who showed up at our table? It was hysterical. We had such a good story.
And that's one of the neat things about the game is the magic system in there, the randomness of it. You also have definitely from its old school roots, you have race is class. So you have, if you're going to play elf, you're playing an elf or a dwarf.
Exactly.
And you also have your standard classes of clerics and wizards and
warriors and thieves.
And another neat thing that I enjoy about the game was in the game world itself, how keeping it as vague and as almost small in scope. Maybe you can explain to the listeners why you kind of took that approach on that.
Well, if I'm understanding you correctly, I think it's that leads to a lot of Dungeon Master customization. So you actually can customize it on the fly at the table. The game definitely has a point of view, and that point of view, it comes from a place of strangeness, and it tries to make it where there are no standard encounters. There really aren't standard monsters. The book's got a few suggestions for it, but the idea is that you create your own monsters for every encounter. So it's not like, we all played, AD&D, and after a while, you knew exactly what to do.
Yeah, you get kind of jaded, and it's like,
an owlbear or a black pudding or a brass dragon. You knew exactly how you had to handle that. Dungeon Crawl Classics eliminates that by making it easy to create unique and terrifying monsters for you to face for the first time every time.
And there was the example that they give in the book for, like it says, it isn't just an ogre or a minotaur, it's the minotaur, and it has a name with it, or the ogre. And also going along with the game world, it is limited in scope in a way is that the characters, they might not know what's over the next hill. They might not know what's over beyond the forest. They just know it's the deep, dark forest.
Exactly.
They don't know what's beyond the other lands. That's still vague and unknown. And I think that's one of the attractions for me is there's a sense of wonder and newness to it.
That's what we try to bring back to it. Joseph Goodman, who when he put it together, he wanted it to snap role players out of the sort of tedium that sometimes you get with games where you just know exactly how it's going to go down. And I think he succeeded magnificently.
Yeah, I totally agree. So now there's the rule book is out, which is a definite bargain. I think it's a great price for it.
Absolutely. And I should point out that there will never, ever be another edition of the Dungeon Crawl Classic rules. They are set as they are, and other than, we've done some minor changes and cleanup and errata over the years to the different editions.
And who doesn't, right? Yeah.
Exactly. Different printings. But the game itself is the game, and it will always be Dungeon Crawl Classics.
Yeah, it's a wonderful basic system. So as a DM, you can add things or remove things all you want. It's really based off a really scaled down D20 mechanic, which is a beautiful thing. And kind of going along with the mechanic, I think is a nice way into creating a character, which I love to death. There's what's called the character funnel. And maybe you explain that to everybody, why that's such an interesting concept.
Absolutely, Nick. So when you start off a funnel game, you create 3 or 4 zero-level characters. These are not classed characters. These are peasants. These are basic people who don't have a whole lot of skills.
Right.
And whoever survives the adventure, that becomes your character over time. So it really challenges you to to find interesting and creative and clever ways to use what resources you do have to surmount insurmountable odds again and again and again. And of course, it leads to great scenes of mayhem and destruction.
Yes, it does. I mean, and what you say is literally you could start with butcher, baker, candlestick maker, and those are your 3 0 level know-nothings, and you're going into the dungeon, and that's per player, so there's a high attrition rate.
There absolutely is. Yes, my first published Dungeon Crawl Classics DCC adventure is Hole in the Sky, which is a character funnel, and I've run that for as many as 30 characters going through it, and had as little as 2 survive.
Wow.
So,
that's really something. So, that's going with the old school thinking. Is like, you know what, it's tough.
Yes, indeed.
You're starting with a no name guy, and you're going to work yourself up to greatness.
Yep.
So you have the rule book, and what else is out for Dungeon Crawl Classics right now?
There are there's really a lot of adventures. We really aren't doing like source books or a world book per se. We really concentrate on putting out new adventures out there, and they're scaled for modern gamers our age. So you can typically if you can get one of our adventures and run it in a session or 2.
Sure.
So it's not like we were trying to go back to the day. We'll never be 16 years old and able to play from Friday until Monday morning.
But we do try.
Oh, Lord, we try. Oh, yes. And I miss those days. Don't get me wrong. But these are the idea is that this is the DCC adventures as published. You can get through them fairly quickly. But there are a few wonderful box sets. There's Shutter Mountain, which is the Tales from Shutter Mountain box set, which is a fantastic setting. Now there's the Lanknamar setting, so you can play adventures. Yes.
Grey Mouser.
Grey Mouser.
And Grey Mouser.
Yes. And my favorite, the Perils in the Purple Planet, that whole series by Harley.
Yeah, I think I've seen that.
Yeah. That is Harley Stroh's masterpiece. It's really a very exciting, very difficult, challenging game in a really unique setting. It really harkens back to both Robert E. Howard, those stories, but also really like John Carter, Warlord of Mars.
Yeah.
And even a little Jack Vance.
Okay, the Jack Vance, their Dying Earth series.
Dying Earth,
that's like a staple for almost every gamer. You got to read it.
Absolutely, yes, sir.
So one of the things I also remember is that there's a really strong community built up around Dungeon Crawl Classics, and that was another one of the attractions to me. Is maybe you could tell everybody about the larger community around it.
Let me start off with my theory on the Dungeon Crawl Classics community that I've actually never said before in a podcast. But this is if you get a bunch of gamers together and you say, "Hi, I want you guys to sit down and play a game with me," where you're going to make up a bunch of 0 level guys, and then most of you will die. But those of you who go on will have weird powers that will not always work, that will be challenging, and that when you do fail, you will fail in hysterical and astounding ways. The people who say, "Hell yes, that is a game I want to play," those are the best kinds of gamers. Yep. So Dungeon Crawl Classics really self-filters for wonderful players.
Sure.
DCC, and I've been in the business since 2000. DCC is the best fan community, and we have the most fun at conventions. And I recommend everyone if you think that's something a good time to you, because it's not everyone's cup of tea. It's got a real point of view. It's not a power gamer's delightful game. Not that powerful things don't happen. Right. You just can't. You can't design for it. You're never going to sit down and spend 3 hours trying to make a DCC character that can top all the other DCC characters and somehow crowbar a few extra points out of whatever attack or defense.
Right.
Instead, it's through clever play and through your cunning and your luck that you're going to make for fantastic and unforgettable stories.
Absolutely. And also with that community, seems like there's encouragement for other people outside of Goodman Games to make their own adventures, to make their own little supplements. And those are some of the fantastic things. And I've seen some of that stuff. There was one, the supplement slips my mind. It had an elephant.
An elephant?
Yeah, I think there was like an elephant type creature in it. But one of the things I noticed was it harkened back to that thing to the late 70s or early 80s when you had like the local gaming groups making their own little pamphlets of stuff to build on the D&D.
We have a very strong zine community with some fantastic writers, and I recommend everyone try out Crawl magazine and Crawling Under a Broken Moon and all of the other wonderful supplements that are there around it. Forrest, I can't remember Forrest's last name, but he does this fantastic adventure I just picked up called Terror from the Silver Screen, and that is Forrest Aguirre, a novelist and excellent writer, put out this great adventure that I've played recently. I recommend very highly.
Okay, yeah, that was one of another attractor to me is the zine community is really cool, and it's just a real cool. It's a fantastic throwback to that time.
Yeah, you're really a part of something with Dungeon Crawl Classics. I recommend everyone come out and try it at a convention. It's we are spreading the love, and the DCC is getting to be all over the place, and in fact, if anyone has any specific questions, you can always go to our website, go to our G+ page, or the fan page, the DCC Rocks Facebook page, and check in, see if there are gamers in your area, and come and see what the community is all about.
Yeah, absolutely. And so with that going along, what's coming down in the future? Maybe like an adventures or what have you?
I'll tell you, we got something really exciting. Mutant Crawl Classics, MCC.
Mutant Crawl Classics. Okay.
Yes. If you were a fan of Gamma World.
Oh, heck yeah.
Absolutely. I was a huge Gamma World was probably the third or fourth game I ever played. Love Gamma World. Loved everything about it. And if you were a fan of that, you definitely need to come and try out Mutant Crawl Classics. This is going to be absolutely spectacular.
So is that going to be like a supplement for DCC or a standalone game?
It'll be a supplement and a standalone that is completely compatible with regular DCC.
Oh, wow.
It would be, the easiest thing in the world to have an adventure where your DCC characters go and visit the post-apocalyptic world after the bomb, and vice versa.
Oh, wow. Okay. That is so cool. So I guess we can wrap it up here. Thank you, Brendan.
Thank you for having me.
For coming on a Roll for Initiative podcast. And this is DM Nick signing off and saying, may all your hits be crits.
Are you enjoying the show you're listening to right now? Want to help support the show? Why not head over to the Patreon site, patreon.com/WGP. That's patreon.com/WGP. And help support the network for as little as $1.50 a month. That's right, $1.50 a month goes a long way. Thank you.
Typical. Of all the evil creatures in the world, I'd like to find one with table manners.
What, are you kidding me? I spent years cultivating the worst table manners on the planet.
Table manners.
Okay, now we'll go into the main part of the show for this month, and I thought about keeping with Halloween, talk about haunted houses, and we'll kind of round table the three of us and just talk about maybe designs on haunted houses, background and history, and put to one, some creatures and traps, and then maybe other types of haunted structures that you can make and that you can put in your campaign. So let's kind of start off as far as like the design. What do you think as far as the design would be? I like to go with you could go with a castle, but I mean almost anything to make a really good structure. I mean, as far as
I would probably start with a mausoleum or something, or like a crypt or something.
A mausoleum would be really good. Yeah. Or a family crypt.
Or what happens in Cincinnati a lot, you take like a music hall or like another structure and put it over top of an old cemetery.
What?
Oh, there you go. Oh, that's a good point. The whole like poltergeist movie kind of route.
Right. Like Cincinnati Music Hall example. They're doing renovations. Under the orchestra pit, about 8 inches, they found a body from the 1800s. Ooh. It used to be, where that building was built, it used to be a pauper's field. They never bothered getting rid of all the bodies before they put up Music Hall. So when they do renovations and do a little digging, they keep finding bodies, yes.
Oh my God, that's crazy.
And then across the street, there's a park. They same problem. It was a pauper's field. They moved some bodies, but not all of them. So some of them are still there.
Here's an adventure idea I started writing up over the summer. It was probably really good for this episode now that I think about it. It reminded me, since you talked about that music hall, Matt, I was designing up an adventure where this king hires the adventurers to rid the land of this giant that keeps attacking the castle and killing his guards and then running back into the caves. So the players have to go into the caves and find the giant to figure out what's going on, maybe to get rid of him. But then they face a moral dilemma because they find out that the king built his kingdom on his family's burial ground. And they find these maps that he's going to do this spell.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, and he's going to wipe out the whole kingdom and everything. So the players have to decide, do they side with the king, kill the giant, or do they kill the giant, pretty much, and just be like, too bad, the king moved in, you're out, buddy. So that was the premise of that adventure. It went over pretty well. So
yeah, and you could also in that incorporate, well, where the kingdom is, it's haunted by the ghost of the giants too. And I think that's when it comes to haunted houses and haunted anything, it's as much the setting as in the ambiance that makes it haunted, not just what spooky stuff is in there that could actually hurt you.
Yeah.
So for me, you're going to have a really good haunted house. I think you need to set the ambiance to make players more fearful of what they don't know than what they actually do. It's the mystery, and because their minds are going to make it seem much worse than it really is. So you need to play upon that.
It's all about the mood and about the atmosphere in most horror campaigns. I mean, Cthulhu, Call of Cthulhu, as Nick knows, is running many games. More of it's have to do with the fear of everything and what they're going to get around the corner next. So pull that trigger. Is it going to kill the thing, or is the thing going to make you go insane?
Yeah. Absolutely, and that kind of plays into a little bit on how you would have a background or a history for the place. I mean, like you're saying, like a part of the background or history might be an old burial ground where this structure was built upon, or maybe it was not necessarily a burial ground. Maybe it was the structure was built over, like maybe he had a temple, and it was built on the ruins of a previous one, like maybe they of another evil temple that was to some sort of evil god, and they defeated it and they built another good temple over it, but they got their revenge and cursed the area and it's haunted, something like that.
Right.
That's another good premise to go with.
Or it could just be a place that has a lot of tragedy associated with it.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's some, like it was in this spot, a orphanage burned down and all the children died.
Mm-hmm.
Or on this corner of the street, 8 people died in different incidents, but no one was punished for any of the murders, which actually did happen in Newport, Kentucky, on a street corner.
Oh, nice.
When back when Newport was ran by the mob. There's this one street corner, 6 in Monmouth. Over the course of like 40 years, there was like 8 different people that died within maybe 20 feet of that corner. No one's been punished.
Really?
Wow.
For any of those murders. And they were all in broad daylight. I didn't see nothing. So you could have something like that where somebody died at brutal means, but they weren't. No one was punished for it, and perhaps the ghost walks trying to get retribution.
Huh.
There was also right around it. I did some ghost tours, if you can't tell, of Cincinnati and Newport. So I got recently, and by that street corner, there's an alley. And the people running the ghost tour said, "Oh, we brought some psychics along one time. Didn't tell them where we were stopping. Just see where they get drawn to." And this one psychic just got drawn to this corner, or this alleyway. And he asked, and they're like, "We don't know anything about it. Nothing happened here." He was like, "I just see so many people." And basically, what he said was, the ghost that haunted
I see dead people.
Yeah. That alleyway was all the souls of the people that saw one of those murders but didn't say anything.
Wow.
Oh, that's weird.
That's
Yes, that's just so incorporating something like, yeah, everyone knew who did it, but no one would speak up. So now their souls are the ones that are haunting this place.
Oh man.
So there's all sorts of ways you can take that, and it's all that. If you come up with a concept, you can get that little chill up your spine. You want to run with it. Those are the ones for the haunted houses.
I guess it just goes about, like you're saying, just the different ways you can make an area quote unquote haunted, and that's one of them. I guess another one would be like curses. Curses, I guess, could play into that. Like the old witch gives the evil eye to somebody, and I curse your family forever, something like that, or I don't know.
Right.
I mean, but there's just so many different ways you can make a place, either a structure or the land around it, either haunted, through a curse, or just through the souls that have died there, or something like that. I like the old family curse sort of thing. That's always a good one. The old the bloodline that's cursed in some fashion. And that could play into a campaign to where maybe one of the player characters is part of that bloodline. You could do something like that.
Yeah. Or perhaps the royal family got cursed, so their they have their kingdom, but it's always going to be blighted. It's always going to have something wrong because of that curse.
And maybe strange and unusual things happen to that person or people when they go to that area.
Right.
So I don't know. Yeah. That's a lot of good ways that you can, kind of work into a haunted house or a haunted area. You can make it that way. I don't know what else. I guess we could talk about maybe, what sort of creatures you might have.
I don't like to do stock creatures from the book. I mean, a lot of people are like, oh, you're supposed to use stock creatures, but I'm a person that likes to improvise creatures, especially with this like haunted house or haunted mausoleum or whatever you want to do. I'll make up my own ghosts and things like that, like ghosts that are just like wimpy ghosts, like a spirit. So it's like, so it gives them the mood that it's going to be something, but they don't know, because like, oh no, it's a ghost. I'm a player, so I know if I look at the manual, a spirit, oh no, we better run. So
because if they're haunting an area, they're haunting it for a specific reason. So therefore, they should have something tied to why they're still there, why they never moved on, why are they stuck as a ghost. So yeah, ghosts should be, just in general, have a backstory for existing. It's not like a zombie was a corpse and somebody bad mojo brought them back and they're just walking mindlessly. Ghost, hauntings, poltergeists, those things, they have backstory. They have reasons for existing. Your apparitions exist for a reason. They don't just randomly happen. I mean, you could do something, perhaps the ghost is haunting because they weren't given a proper burial. Perhaps they're haunting that area because, guess what, they didn't move the grave. And they don't have the proper marking, or perhaps they were murdered and buried under the building mob style. And if you give them a proper send-off, it'll release their spirit to the netherworld.
Oh, I just thought of another interesting premise as far as, like, I guess maybe a haunted area or like a cursed family. It was a Lovecraft story. That I'm trying to remember what it was. I think it was Pickman's Model. I think. I could be wrong on this, but the story had something to do with this. The person whose family was cursed. He eventually basically becomes a ghoul. And that's how, like, I know in the Call of Cthulhu game, that's how a lot of ghouls are about. They're actually humans that have degenerated from this weird mutagenic type disease in our DNA, where they become eventually ghouls. So, that would be an interesting, like, sort of, I guess, curse, where they become some sort of type of monster like a ghoul. So I don't know. I just thought that just kind of reminded me of something like that. But that's a interesting premise where they might be, maybe over time, maybe that character, if their family is cursed and they're in the haunted area, they start slowly becoming like a ghoul or a ghast or some other undead creature.
Yeah, it activates the mutagen in the bloodline.
Yeah.
They start, and then it becomes a race against time.
Exactly.
To break this curse. And not,
yeah. I guess it's almost like the werewolf thing too.
And
I guess.
And they could find out about it along the way, like they never knew this was going to happen type thing, maybe. And then they find these old documents or texts that show this.
And then maybe you could put a little twist in it. Maybe there's a warren of ghouls under the family crypt or the family house, and they want that person to become a ghoul because they'll become the new leader, the new ghoul king or whatever. So not only a race against time, but there's a race against a whole other group that's trying to make this thing happen.
Right.
No, Grandpa, don't eat me.
Yeah.
Yeah, because perhaps there's the family tomb. It's been sealed. But, and then the players, for whatever reason, like, hey, they need to get in there because there's some artifact or whatever they want. They're like, oh, we need this. But then they discovered, no, it was sealed because the family was a bunch of ghouls and they couldn't kill them, but they trapped them. And now they just unleashed this family of ghouls upon the world. So, because sometimes the tombs are meant to keep things in, not keep things
out. Right. There you go.
So perhaps the item in question was the magic, powering the magic ward that kept them from escaping. You can do that too, where the player's like, oh, I'm taking this magic item. Oh no, what just happened? Like when Indy pulled the statue off the platform and all of a sudden released the boulder, except this time it's an army of undead.
Wow. There you go. And also to think, I guess, on other creatures, I guess you could come up like what Vince does, some unique ones.
I like doing that a lot. I like to take creatures and make them just weak versions of themselves, and just so they have something to fight. Because I mean, there's no real ghost for low level, and it's not a haunted house unless you have a ghost. So
exactly.
You could take the Scooby-Doo approach and make it seem like it's haunted when really it's just some like low-level NPC that's making it seem haunted for whatever reason they have.
Yep.
And then like, I would have got it if it wasn't for you meddling PCs.
If it wasn't for you kids and your stupid little dog.
Right, so that way they think they're fighting ghosts and all of this when they're really not, because it's all like illusions or like they...
Just don't have a Scrappy-Doo in your party.
Module that's actually like that, I believe, is Sinister Secret of Saltmarsh.
Oh yeah,
That is like that. I think the pirates or the thieves are hiding out in the one structure by the sea, and they try to dress up as like, I guess, vampires, if I recall. So, and that's why they're trying to keep people away, because they try to make it appear that the place is haunted by a vampire or vampires. So, and then they find out the quote-unquote sinister secret. That's why some people don't like that module. They say, oh, it's like Scooby-Doo. Well, not exactly, but anyway.
Scooby-Doo makes a good haunted house for low-level characters.
It does.
It does. Yeah.
Yes, it does.
Then actually, if you think about it, Castle Amber is a haunted house.
Yes, it is.
That is a haunted house. It has
That's
all
a family
the
with a curse.
Yep. And then you could either play it straightforward and it can get a little silly at times, or you could just spooky it up a little bit, and it is creepy.
Yeah, Chateau de Amber.
Yes. So.
Voulez-vous battre? Oh, sorry.
Yeah. No, you were even talking about like unique monsters. Even in the original Ravenloft module, the Strahd zombies are way different than in the monster manual. They're far more nasty.
Yeah. Turn as mummies, and they got the extra hit points, and then their severed limbs will keep attacking you, Evil Dead style. Yeah,
that's my kind of zombie.
Right. Which, in my game, the Strahd zombies never got to do anything because the cleric was an amazing at turning them, always rolling great when it comes to turning those zombies. I'm like, wow, the spaghetti monster is with you.
Oh my gosh. I guess I don't know if there's anything unique as far as, for the haunted houses, but is there anything unique as far as haunted houses when it comes to traps, I guess?
I don't think I've ever really used a trap, so to speak, other than lure people into areas. That's about it.
I don't think it would necessarily be like a trap, but it would just be more the dilapidatedness of the building becomes the trap. Like the floors, the steps are breaking, that type of stuff. Those are they're natural traps. They're not set there as in I'm going to catch me a player. No, it's more of this place is falling apart. You better be a little careful because it's falling apart.
Yeah, I guess that would be a way to structure that. Like you said, it's just the natural dilapidation of the structure.
Yeah, and it makes it a little harder for the players to figure out what's going on because it's just the natural decay. And also when they start looking for traps, well, it's technically not a trap. It's just floor looks a little weak, but everywhere in this place looks a little weak. So it's a nice... Yeah.
The only trap that I've ever really done in a haunted house is speaking of Evil Dead, Army of Darkness, is the whole, they're innocent, back turned to you. Oh, you can help me. And then when you touch them on the shoulder or turn them around, it's just like, rah, monster type thing.
Yeah.
The Deadite situation, so.
Right. Okay.
That's the only trap I've kind of really done in a haunted house or mausoleum type area. I mean, other than the voices calling out from the distance and you have to try to track them down.
Yeah.
Right. And again, that's setting the ambiance of it too. Those
Sure.
And then sometimes you could you think you hear a voice, but it doesn't mean you actually did. At that point, it could just be the wind blowing and it sounds like it because your mind, once you get in that mode, it starts to want to make out
I have a good premise.
Things that aren't there.
I have a good premise that we can kind of poke around with here right now. How about a haunted dream? The players don't realize, or the characters don't realize that you're dreaming the whole time. How far do you take that to death and then be like, you wake up and then say that's like 6 sessions before all this stuff happened? How far are you going to go with that? Because just imagine that. You can play out a dream sequence and not tell them for like 2-3 games.
Right. Yeah. Because that could be in the story of itself. Why do they get stuck in this dream sequence where everyone is having the same dream and interacting with each other like it's real?
Yeah.
What caused that? Perhaps they got sucked into like the astral plane, but it seemed so real to them that they thought it was real. Now the question is, for the adventuring they do in this dream world, would you give them the experience?
I would definitely give it to them, only to be fair. I mean, you can't be like, oh, it's just a dream. Psych, you didn't gain those levels.
So you're not going to Dallas an entire season and have Patrick Duffy wake up?
No, nobody's going to wake up taking a shower and be like, Patrick Duffy come out like, hey, man, I'm Patrick Duffy and I'm buff,
Yeah.
No, we're not going to do that.
That would be an interesting little twist to tease, like if in the background there's like a Patrick Duffy like character, that's the tell that this isn't real.
Yeah,
because you see run into Patrick Duffy.
Yeah, your character wakes up and all of a sudden they notice the shower is on. There's steam coming out of the bathroom. As you wipe your eyes clean, you look closely, and Patrick Duffy steps out with a towel over his shoulder.
Not Patrick Duffy.
Yes.
And you're like, wait, huh?
What?
TV's Patrick Duffy.
And then you make.
I am Scuzzlebutt.
No. You can take it a step further. As this derails, they go into the stream sequence, but then you actually convert the game to the Dallas RPG.
Oh no!
And then you jump out the window with a noose around your neck.
And that's how you wake up and realize it was all a bad dream.
It was all a bad dream.
Your DM pulls out the Dallas RPG.
Yeah.
No.
And that's when everybody starts going after you and want to kill you.
But you can add subtle hints like that. A guy knocks on the door. There's a message from Paige Duffy. It's like, wait, hey.
Wait, what?
Right.
Oh, my gosh.
Sir Patrick.
And I guess, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I said Sir Patrick, that's all.
Sir Patrick. Yes. I guess you could use any of this stuff for like any sort of haunted structure, we already said like a mausoleum or a family crypt.
I know you put down in the notes, Nick, lighthouse. I don't really think I've ever explored a lighthouse as far as haunted wise, because I don't think there'd be too much to do in a lighthouse.
Yeah,
unless you make it to like one of those portals to a different dimension inside of a lighthouse.
Right. The lighthouse happens to lay at the vertex of some ley lines, so it's just like a place of power. Hence why it got put there. So it was actually used as a wizard's tower, but then the wizard died. And then they're like, hey, this tower would make a good lighthouse.
Well, I just remember a few years back on Ghost Hunters when they went down on the St. Petersburg and they investigated a lighthouse there that was haunted. It's actually quite a big structure.
Yeah.
And it was kind of creepy what they found. It kind of blew my mind there.
Right.
But I know that's one of the things that you sometimes hear about in the real world as far as like places that are haunted are lighthouses. And then I like another one of my favorites is, haunted ships.
Yeah, those are fun.
Oh yeah. The Black Pearl. The Flying Dutchman.
All right. Well,
yeah, it was like for me, I could even I'm really interested in like the standing but not operating amusement parks, the abandoned ones. So you could even take something like that. There was like the giant King's Fair years ago, and like the buildings still stand from it, but they're in decay, and you have like ye old ancient rides still standing but falling apart. And then that could have that whole area be haunted.
We actually have a real life abandoned amusement park right up where I live. Jaga Lake Amusement Park. They're finally tearing down the last few structures. It's been abandoned for, I think, oh my gosh,
15 years?
10 years? It might have been 10 years, 12 years now.
Yeah, because when did Cedar Point close it? Because they bought it, combined it with SeaWorld, and then shut it all down like a year later.
And then they just had the water park area open, and now that's finally closed.
Why was it closed down?
Because Six Flags bought them.
Oh, okay.
And they didn't want any. Basically, didn't want any competition with over in Sandusky, Ohio.
Right.
I wasn't sure if it was deaths or something or something.
No, it was just too close to Cedar Point for their liking.
Yeah, up in Cedar Point in Sandusky.
That's how in Pennsylvania, Mount Airy Lodge. You remember Mount Airy Lodge? You used to always hear those commercials, Mount Airy Lodge, something about skiing and things like that. That got closed down because the owner supposedly committed suicide in the hotel, and then it went bankrupt. And then, of course, the mob bought it and made it into a casino.
Lodge.
Yeah, and of course, the mob bought it and made it into a casino. But
yeah, it was like there was over in Korea. There is a amusement park. It was operating and running, but then one day on one of the children's rides, it was like a little roller coaster with like duck cars. One of the cars fell off the tracks and a little girl fell out and died. And the owner proceeded to disappear. He fled somewhere and the park just shut down.
He just ran away?
Yes. He literally just ran away. Last I heard, they never found him. And this was years ago. But they still but people would go there and take pictures of it. And when you look at these old places, like in this case, the car was still dangling from the tracks.
Oh, my
gosh. This girl fell out. And what's creepy about it is you could see the structure, but then you see nature start reclaiming it.
Yeah.
And that gives you that weird, uncanny value. You're like, this is right, like this building, but this growth and it just feels uncomfortable. It's like when you look at either like old pictures or pictures from Chernobyl or anything like any place where it was once full of life and then nature starts reclaiming it. That gives you that eerie feeling.
Yeah.
And then those make great haunted places as well.
You're going to have a haunted amusement park. Yeah. And if you're going to have a haunted amusement park, Kiss has to show up.
Yes.
And save the day. Anyway, I think that's going to wrap the show this week. If you have any ideas about haunted structures or haunted houses, rfistaff@gmail.com or send us a voicemail, 570-865-4210, the hotline. Hit us up on Facebook at our webpage. Go on to iTunes and type in keyword Roll for Initiative and leave us a review. And we'll be back next time. So we're going to say keep it original, keep it old school, and good night, everybody.
Good night.
The Roll for Initiative podcast Podcast is a production of Wild Games Productions in association with D20Radio.com. You can visit us at RFIPodcast.com or contact us on our forums at OSRGaming.org or even by calling us at 570-865-4210. This podcast is produced for entertainment purposes only. All other uses are prohibited. And remember, if your magic missile spell doesn't automatically hit, you're playing the wrong edition. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time on Roll for Initiative.